We are Dexian, in the business for good.
Inspiring leader making waves in digital agriculture. It's truly empowering to see women driving innovation and impact in this sector. We welcome Revathi Vaidya, Strategy and Partnership Lead, Digital Agriculture PMU, MoA&FW.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gates Foundation and Dexian, for having us here. Very excited to see the different innovations and progress that all of the different organizations in this space are making, and we're excited to collaborate with all of you. I was given strict instructions to keep it under 6 minutes, so I'm going to try my best to do that, so please bear with me. Okay. Just a quick overview about PXT. So we're an organization that acts as a bridge between farmers and the innovations they need. So there are 3 ways that we do this, right? One is through the delivery of customized and dynamic information. So this is through services that we've developed for state governments, often in the form of build, operate, transfer models. Second is to provide data-driven improvements to government and partner services. So conducting actual research studies, impact assessments to understand how farmer behavior and adoption practices have changed. And lastly, to provide strategic advice to governments on digital agriculture, which is broadly what I do working for the Ministry of Ag. So the chart that you can see over here looks at the service cost per farmer, right? I think everybody here has been talking about cost effectiveness and how solutions scale. And the one thing that we have observed is that as the number of users grow, as adoption grows, the actual cost of running a digital advisory service goes down. Everybody here, I think we've been talking about our solutions, the different technical components they have, how all of them are innovative. I thought it would also be interesting to go back to basics and look at how for feature phone farmers, right? When we're looking at digital penetration, we know that a lot of farmers don't have access to smartphones. So back in 2018, we worked with the government of Odisha to release Ama Krushi, which is now known as Krushi Samruddhi, which was an IVR-based digital advisory service. So this is literally farmers calling in, recording questions, and then receiving weekly advisory via push calls. Now, as you can imagine, now it might sound rudimentary, right? Because now we've seen how AI has transformed the games. There's chatbots everywhere. There's applications that are doing so much more. But what I want to look at is how we can actually tangibly measure the impact of digital advisory. And can we say with confidence that has digital advisory helped farmers? Is there a way to measure the type of impact it's having? And as you can see, we did a study that we ran the service between 2018 and 2022, and we recently released the results of this study. And we saw, especially for farmers that were hit by excessive rainfall, so these are climate vulnerable farmers, we noticed that there was actually a 6.8 increase in yield. So when you compare them to control farmers who didn't have access to this advisory, you can see a tangible change. And I think what is most interesting to see is that there is an increase, 9% increase in harvest, again, when compared to those farmers who didn't have access to this information. So I think it's humbling, but it's also bolstering to see how very solutions that you would not consider as high-tech or, not a lot of bells and whistles is still able to deliver this type of impact. And I think it's only promising to think about the type of impact that we could have when we're optimizing for customized delivery of information across multiple parameters. So when we're looking at sending customized advisory via Krushi Samruddhi, we will looking at customization based on, let's say, land or access to irrigation or the types of crops that they grow. Now we can do so much more. So I'm very excited to see as we continue to do our CTs and impact assessments, how these figures grow. All right, so what is it that we did learn from this study though? I know, much of the solutions that have spawned over the last few years have focused on AI and applications that are very decked out. They have a lot of specs. But what we've observed is that scale actually lies in demonstrating value through simplicity for farmers. So the one thing that we've noticed is when you're trying to build trust in an ecosystem, it's the application or it's the solution that stays the same, but is able to progress based on the nature of information that it's providing, that actually has the highest take-up, right? So you're loyal to a certain application because it hasn't changed too much. So when you are considering leveraging cutting-edge technology, How are ways that we can do it in the back end to improve service delivery for farmers in the front end without changing too much for them? So one way that we did this was through optimizing call timing, right? We used machine learning models to look at farmer engagement data and identify what was the best time for us to reach out to them, so they're more likely to pick up the call and actually use the information relayed. Similarly, with reducing operational load, I think we don't think about the type of resource intensivity that goes into building a lot of these solutions. So we had a team of agronomists that were sorting through these solutions, sorting through questions that were received by farmers. By using AI to sort out recordings of questions that were blank or, not relevant, we were able to reduce their load. So that's a process efficiency that we're seeing that directly translates into improved service delivery. And there's also localized communication insights. I think we've spoken about how, what is the type of information that farmers actually want to read? Does that have anything to do with the way the message is passed? Does it have anything to do with the language or the dialect or the term that's used? And all of this can be synthesized using AI at the back end. All right, so everybody here, I think you might have some sort of an overview of what we do, but at the center, we provide strategic advisory. There are 3 pillars. It's institutionalization, convergence, and user centricity. So we try to get the government to constantly think of these 3 pillars when they are looking at solutions to scale. So what are the challenges and opportunities that we've observed? And this I'm saying from a bird's eye view, right? I'm sure all of you through the scale that you've done at your independent solution level, have observed a lot of learnings that I'm going to be taking home today. But this is what we've seen, especially when working with the government. First is to prevent scale fail. We've seen that a lot of the solutions that end up progressing to state governments, not as much state governments, central governments, tend to get stuck at pilot stage, where they're unable to move beyond, let's say, a small sample of maybe a few thousand farmers. And what we have seen is that there are a lot of administrative bottlenecks that tend to hinder this progress, right? So what are things that we are doing at the center to make this less obstacle-filled, so to speak? So one is to actually build internal capacity across the government. What we've learned is that when there is more stakeholder buy-in, when we're able to demonstrate value across multiple government officers, there's a higher likelihood of that getting picked up. And so we work regularly with METI, which is, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, which is responsible also for the India AI mission, which sees agriculture as a key area for innovation. So how do we bring these 2 entities together to create an ecosystem where a lot of these solutions can come, demonstrate value, and then, be picked up for funding to scale? Evidence-based learning, we've noticed that there aren't a lot of systems in place at the government level to gather this feedback. There's a lot of administrative data, but what do farmers actually think? How do they feel? Are they satisfied beyond, like a regular thumbs up or thumbs down? And that's what we want to do. We want to conduct regular assessments of solutions, and we're actually partnering with our partners in Bihar on the Bihar Krishi evaluation to understand how this solution can be better designed for farmer comprehension. And then lastly, there's last mile delivery through interoperability, right? We all know that there's a lot of tech literacy barriers that farmers face, and you need simple and unified interfaces to be able to do this. So how do we use existing systems to feed into these solutions? Can we leverage WhatsApp? Can we leverage Telegram? And I know out of some of the AIEP cohorts today, and also a lot of other organizations, you have been thinking about doing this with Telegram and WhatsApp. And another way, again, to do this is to actually get the government to come in and help subsidize those costs. So those are the types of partnerships that we should be thinking about. And this is where we should be headed. Again, a very bird's eye view. Vocal for local, we all know that all of the solutions you are deploying on the ground, you are experts for that particular local demography. And it's important to make sure that we adopt a bottom-up approach in how we're thinking of solutions. Second is content validation. This is something everybody has covered. I know we talked about physical traceability, but there should also be content traceability. Who is the author of this information? How do we create accountability mechanisms for information that's relayed to farmers and then is used for adoption? And who is then responsible for anything that might transpire as a function of that? And some things that we are doing at the solution level is to create chatbot evaluation frameworks, right? Specifically for generative AI. So I know, again, solutions are looking at creating, golden data sets or do a lot of black box testing. So we want to create a very comprehensive framework that looks at all aspects of solution delivery. And lastly, there's lean functionality. We want to make sure that everybody is prioritizing function-driven innovation. There are applications, there's a lot of legacy solutions that exist, but what are the ones that are really worth scaling, and how can we collaborate to integrate what exists to make sure that farmers are able to both retain agency and also have the access to the best of the lot. Yeah, I think that is it. Thank you.
We are Dexian. In the business for good.